Good morning, I'm Amelia. We were all very sad to hear about the passing of our national hero, Captain Sir Tom Moore, who lost his battle to coronavirus yesterday. We are therefore going to read Tom's book 100 Steps about his life and fantastic fundraising effort for our NHS. On a bright April morning, a 99-year-old man stood outside his house and held on to his walking frame. His name was Captain Tom Moore, and he had pledged to walk 100 lengths of his garden in time for his 100th birthday to raise money for the doctors and nurses risking their lives to save others. Tom took a deep breath. He knew this wasn't going to be easy, but he told himself one of the many important things he had learned during his long life. The first step is always the hardest, but unless you take the first step, you'll never finish. Tom grew up in a small town in Yorkshire. His dad built houses and his mum was a teacher. Even though most boys avoided the kitchen in those days, Tom loved spending hours cooking with his mum enormous cakes with coloured icing, thick crusted pies and fancy three-course meals. She taught him that it didn't matter who you were, you can do and be anything you want. When he wasn't in the kitchen, Tom was outside playing with his dog Billy. They went everywhere together on adventures in the garden and exploring the town. But best of all, they loved running wild and free on the Yorkshire moors. Billy was named after Tom's favourite uncle who raced motorbikes and taught Tom how to ride. At night, Tom would lie in bed remembering the roar of the engine and feeling of freedom he felt as the wheels spun beneath him. One day he said to himself, "I'll have a motorbike of my very own." Tom worked hard at school in lessons. He was quiet and well behaved and got on well with his classmates and teachers. But he wasn't above bending the rules. When he was 12, Tom bought his first motorbike and he rode it everywhere. He would even ride it in the school grounds so that he could look at it at lunchtime. And Tom's motorbike wasn't the only thing he would sneak into school. As Tom grew older, he spent more and more time riding his motorbike. He and Billy would spend whole days racing across the moors, grinning ear to ear, and the wind whipped through their hair and the sun bounced brightly off the motorbike. Every day can be an adventure. In 1939, when Tom was 19, war was declared. It was a worrying time, but Tom wanted to serve his country, and so the next year he signed up as an officer in the army. Seagulls wheeled overhead as he waved goodbye to his family to go far away to fight. Tom's ship was bound from a country called Burma in Southeast Asia. It made many stops along the way, from the bustling, dusty harbour in Freetown, the capital city of Sierra Leone, to the awe-whispering Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa. It took many weeks to reach Burma, and Tom would never forget the people he met or the incredible things he saw throughout the journey. Hold up. Life in Burma took some time to getting used to, especially the enormous bugs and creepy crawlies that lived in the jungle, including a spider as big as Tom's hand. Tom made us use of his love of engines and his talent for fixing things by teaching the troops how to ride and fix motorbikes and then tanks. War would be scary, and Tom missed his family, but he and his new friends made sure to have fun too. They would take many holidays around the country and even travel to see Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. But it was cloudy, so all they could see was fog. And on special occasions, there were parties and concerts. Once the famous singer Vera Lynn made the long journey from Britain to visit the troops and sing for them. Tom could hardly believe that he was seeing her with his own eyes. I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Even though Tom, along with the rest of the world, was pleased when the war finally ended, he could go home. He missed his friends and the most amazing sights he had ever seen. Day after day, Tom worked with his dad building houses, and at night he dreamed of the adventures he used to have. Tom wasn't ready to give up on adventures, though, as he rediscovered the wonderful feeling of freedom that he had always found riding motorbikes. He started to race and in events called time trials, and he won race after race after race. Then Tom knew then that even when the sky seems full of dark grey clouds, the sun will shine again. And the greatest adventure of Tom's life began when he met Pamela. He thought she was the most beautiful person he had ever seen and made excuses to travel the great distance between their hometowns to see her. Before long, they fell deeply in love. After Tom and Pamela got married, they had two little girls, Lucy and Hannah. They taught the girls about cooking and fixing engines. Hannah was the smallest, so her job was to change the oil in the car. Tom had never forgotten the lesson his mother had taught him. No matter what you are, you can do and be anything you want. As the years went by, Tom and Pamela's family grew and grew and grew. Lucy and Hannah had children of their own. And there were always new dogs. Over the years, Tom made sure that the family had lots of adventures and their days were filled with laughter and mischief. And the dogs made more mischief than anyone. But sadly, when Pamela was 63 years old, she got sick, and 8 years later, she passed away. Without Pamela, Tom was very, very sad. But he surrounded himself with his family, and they helped him to find happy days again. In fact, these years were the happiest of his life so far. His family showered Tom that at the end of the storm, there is a golden sky. They certainly kept him busy fixing things. He kept an eye on the garden even though things didn't always go to plan. as he made sure to go off for the odd adventure. Like travelling to Everest so that he could finally see it with his own eyes. It was a very long journey for a 99-year-old, and Tom could hardly believe it when he saw Everest at the last, the mountain rising bold and majestic ahead of him. It took his breath away. It's never too late for one more adventure. So when a dangerous disease swept around the world, Tom knew that he had to do everything to help others, just as his family helped him. Together, they had an idea. To raise money by walking 100 lengths of his garden in time for his 100th birthday. Every day, Tom went outside to his garden and slowly but surely walked step after step after step, and before he knew it, the whole world was watching him, because one step has the power to inspire 100 more. Tom couldn't believe how many cards arrived for his 100th birthday. As he read the outpouring of love and the domination he throughout, he thought all the people who had written to him and what he would be like to say in reply. For all those finding it difficult, the sun will shine on you, and again the clouds will go away. Remember, tomorrow will be a good day. Captain Tom, you made us smile, and in dark times you gave us light. Yesterday the nation lost a hero. Our thoughts are with your family. You'll stay forever in our hearts. You'll never be alone. We say goodbye and thank you, Captain Tom Moore. You were the very best. Amen. You'll never walk alone, Tom Moore. And everyone, you'll never walk alone.